Looking for a way to spice up your vocal recordings? Well, today I'm going to show you this cool 4-for-1 trick. So for the longest time, I followed the typical tried and true vocal recording methods, the ones that were laid out to us from the masters, and they're phenomenal. But I also felt something was missing. Something started to feel stale for me, like maybe I wasn't injecting enough creativity into the process. And I'd read this article about John Lennon, how he hated the sound of his voice and all the wild techniques and trials and tribulations that he would put his engineers through in order to try to find a vocal sound that he really liked. Why this method is double inspired by John Lennon. John Lennon is also known for creating that distorted guitar sound in Revolution by plugging his guitar directly into one of the red preamps at Abbey Road Studios and then overdriving that preamp and then going into another preamp to gain stage it. So for one of my 4 vocal mics that I use now as color palettes for recording, one of them is a distorted vocal that I use the same technique on. So what do you say we get to the video and learn how to do these?
So I wanted to show you my setup for tracking vocals. First thing that I do is I put the pop screen on its own stand so that as we need to just kind of slide it out of the way, adjust the heights of mics, adjust the position of the pop screen, it's not attached to a stand and just makes the whole process a little bit more cumbersome. I'll show you this in the DAW, but I do set up 4 mics and I consider them almost like my vocal faders. The center mic, which for this session is an SM7B because it's just a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more rock. So this mic is going to be the mic that I'm going to go with. Also, I've used it on the singer before, so I know that I do like it on his voice. However, it could be any particular mic that suits the singer for their main direct clean sound. Then right here, I have, I call it the Carbonphone mic, which I consider to be my lo-fi mic. It kind of breaks up a little bit, definitely has this funky, telephony kind of vibe happening, which is great sometimes to be able to blend in, or if there's a section of the song where I just want to go exclusively to that, I already have it tracked. To my right here, the SM57, this one is hooked up to an Echoplex, and I'll show you the chain in a second, and then a distressor, which I just kind of compress it a decent amount to really kind of draw out those echoes. And then above, the SM57 above, is going into 2 red preamps that I have, the EMI from Abbey Road red pre's. I use it as a distortion box. So I use the first pre to distort the vocal and then the second pre to control the levels. That was a trick I believe I learned from reading about how John Lennon got the guitar sound for Revolution. He kind of used one of the preamps as a distortion and then the other one for your gain. So I don't see these as 4 different mics. I see them as faders when mixing. And when we hop into DAW, I'll kind of show you. Behind it, I just have one of these, kind of deadening screens. I just like the vocals a little tight. Sometimes I do experiment with like a room mic set up somewhere to catch some ambiance, but I'd be lying if I said that. Most of the time, I just kind of grab a reverb in the DAW and kind of build that to suit my taste and, kind of the specifications of the track. So I'll show you the setup, the outboard setup really quick. So I typically start with a routing sheet that I'm gonna kind of not show the top because the albums aren't released yet, but it'll have the band name, the EP name, the dates of the sessions, who the engineer was, which is me, and then my setup for the session. That way I can always go back to it if I need to reference something, or if a band wants to repeat a sound, or never wants to hear that sound again. I know, I make sure that I instinctively don't go back to something that's going to displease them. But right down here, you can see that I have 4 channels routed, and I call them clean, distorted, lo-fi, and echo box. Sometimes I change my mind. And over here are my Neve pre's that they're routed to. For the distortion, we have the reds, which we're about an hour away from the session, so good idea to get them loaded up. And I'll use this top one right here to drive the distortion. That's why you can see the gain is kind of pinned on that. And then the second guy to control the level, and that's why we can see the levels there are trimmed down a little bit. Over here, for the main vocal, it hits a distressor first, this top distressor, where I have it on a fast attack and fast release, but I'm not gonna hit it too hard. I just kind of want it to knock down the peaks. And then it goes into the LA2A up here, which I'll usually shoot between 3 to 7 decibels of compression. I don't want it working much harder than that, especially during the tracking phase, because I could always compress more. I want the vocal still to remain pretty open. The echo box is down here. This is what we're using. Chorus echo. So we kind of hit that, these settings, and then I go into my second distressor. And the second distressor just essentially just basic compression, medium attack and release. And I'm just making sure when I'm compressing, I'm just listening to the echoes and making sure I'm getting the tails nice. And then also I might adjust the attack if there's too much transient poking through and it's kind of competing with some of the clean stuff. Then I might knock that transient down more so that it pushes the start of the phrases back a little bit, makes them feel a little bit more sluggish, but then draws out the tails, which is really kind of where you want the echo. And I don't use the echo straight up like the whole entire time. I'll kind of pick and choose moments. So that's usually during the editing phase, and I'll kind of show you that when we hop in the DAW in a second. Today, I'm just putting the Carbonphone through the Neve pre's I showed, and then I'm just using this DBX right here just to make sure nothing crazy goes on, but there's really no compression. I'm not using it as any sort of tool for enhancing that sound. And I consider these to be my 4 tone faders for when we're in the box mixing the vocals. So I'll show you that. Let's go and hop in the box.
Okay, so now the session's done and we're back in the box. And we have our clean vocal, which I should say again, the focus of the clean vocal is to capture the vocal as pristine and flattering to the singer as possible. So typically that mic will involve some kind of a vocal shootout. For this session, we chose the 7B because it could handle the intensity of the vocal performance and also really complemented the singer Angel's voice. The second was the 57 that went into my 2 Chandler Red preamps, the first being used as a distortion box and the second is the gain stager. The next is the Placid Audio Carbonphone, which when we play these two against each other, you'll hear they're a little different. Placid Audio has a little more proximity and some audio glitches. And then the Echo Vocal, which is going into my tape 57 into my tape Echo. I, for comparison, just quickly threw together 4 copies of the clean and then just put some plugins on and we could see how close we can get in the box. I can't play too much of the audio because this project isn't finished. We're not actually even done tracking. And hearing it or playing through it, I guess, would, it's like, I guess, me doing this video in my underwear, which is exposing but not pleasing would be the overall theme of that. So anyway, clean vocal.
Never! Never! Never enough! I laid my head on the pillow filled with rocks!
So we could see why the 7B was in contention. Aggressive vocal in your face. So we already kind of get the vibe of, where we need to go when it comes time to mix. The distorted vocal.
Never! Never! Never enough! I laid my head on the pillow filled with rocks!
What I love about distorting something like this is we're getting that real tube overdriven saturation or clipping, which is pleasing to the ear, at least to my ear. It doesn't feel very tinny or very bitey in the top end like sometimes I get when I'm trying to distort things inside the box. And also, it does give us that kind of really, what I would consider almost like a dusty air to the vocal, where if I play the clean, let's mute this for a second.
Never! Never! Never enough! I laid my head on the pillow filled with rocks! My people died and you don't give a fuck! Send them back, right!
So you can hear when I turn it on and off, and I'll do it again. When it's off, the vocal feels actually, to my ear, drier and missing a little bit of top end. So here it is with the distorted off.
Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head!
Now on.
Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head on a pillow filled with rocks!
So it is to me like a dusty air. Where I would consider, or some mixed considerations, is if you are oversaturating everything or trying to just use a lot of vintage compressors or things that might be also adding a lot of harmonic content to what you're doing. This could get lost in the mix, or eventually it could just be contributing to this overall, upper mids buildup of like these saturated frequencies that could then make the mix start to either feel brittle or harsh. So keep in mind when you're doing things with the song to use panning, if to not put all these distorted things, if your guitars or if you're oversaturating your snares or your cymbals or things like that, all on top of each other in the same part of the stereo field. That's your first kind of line of defense. And then also just maybe picking and choosing your battles as to what you do want to really oversaturate or overdrive to kind of add some of that content. And we'll listen to the lo-fi now.
Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head on a pillow filled with rocks!
So you can hear how that kind of really draws out the throatiness, the spittiness. It's affected by proximity. You can hear the proximity effect. I don't know if affected by proximity is a real thing. Maybe it is. But either way, you could hear the proximity effect, or you can say that this vocalist or this microphone was affected by proximity. With the clean vocal, we'll have it out for a second, and then you'll see me engage it.
Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head on a pillow filled with rocks! My people dying and you don't give a fuck! Send them back right! A life laced!
I hope hearing this maybe kind of answered what I would feel would be, the typical question at the start, like, hey bro, like why do we need two essentially distorted vocals? Or, the distorted and lo-fi, aren't they kind of like maybe possibly the same thing? But we can hear with the lo-fi, when we engage it on and off, it actually thickens the vocal and adds a little bit more of that kind of in-your-face grit. So the way I see it is, for me, the distorted one kind of adds has the potential to add dusty air to things. But then this lo-fi one really can help me if I'm like, I need to get this vocal, I want it to feel like gnarly and like in the face of the listener. Like this dude is going to leap out of their playing system and like you could hear or almost feel the spit hitting your face. It's really an awesome thought. but it is kind of the thought here is like, intensity. And the lo-fi mic, especially with a lot of the artists that I record, we are kind of going for very gritty and energetic music that you need things that can help enhance that. And again, we can do things like this in the box, but having these, and I see them as like 4 color faders when we're recording, is important because it adds some creativity and inspiration to the moment. It also gives us things to feed off, and it does help with decision fatigue, where as opposed to saying recording a group like documentarian style, where we're just going to get everything super clean and I'm going to take it back into my lab and start blowing shit up. I'm sure that's cool, and there's like amazing producers out there and engineers that can do that stuff. But I do feel there's a lot to be said for the act of creativity in the moment, and kind of, as Quincy Jones always said, like leaving room for kind of God to step in and do something. Like committing to stuff while you're there, getting ideas, getting a vibe. It really helps everybody come together on the vision, as opposed to if I knew, I can kind of do a distorted vocal, a lo-fi vocal, and an echo vocal in the box, blah, 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 and I'm just trying to get the band to like imagine it. Like imagine we're going to add more distortion or some echo. This is just an easy way to kind of get it, and to do it using some gear that I have that I think does add a little bit of color and personality. So it's an opportunity for my recordings to have a little bit of their own sonic fingerprint. And as engineers, especially recording engineers and mixing engineers, it's nice for us to be able to have a couple things that make us us. And typically that'll start with decisions. And I feel that is the most important thing. I would say your ear and your decision making and the vast array of musical references that are in that Rolodex in your brain are your most important weapons to make you unique. But also, utilizing a few pieces of gear in an interesting way can, set you apart from, what other people are doing, as opposed to saying, well, everybody puts, an 87 into an Avalon Pre, into a Tube Tech, and that's your vocal. Absolutely. And you know what? If it's tried and true, it's tried and true for a reason. But yet, a lot of times, the people that we really, respect and the people that create lasting art are the ones that understand those things and can stand on the shoulders of them, but also find an opportunity to honor those people that came across those chains by, adapting and, advancing and finding their own creative solutions. Because any chain right now that we say is tried and true, somebody had to come up with and somebody had to start. It wasn't like, some engineer came down from the mountain with stone tablets and said, here, all you, fools running around right now trying to record stuff. No, here's the commandments of recording. Like, somebody had to come up with those. Anyway, I'll step down from whatever rant I was just on, and the echo vocal.
Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head on the pillow filled with rocks!
Really kind of soupy and fun, and I record it in mono because my workflow, I do have delays and reverbs, set up in my template that I'll bring in, or I'll design some stock ones. I'll design some custom ones, for the project that I'm working on. If I feel like, it just your typical kind of spatial enhancement type throws aren't gonna cut it, and it needs something, a little bit different perspective wise. So again, if we put them all together.
Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head on the pillow filled with rocks!
That's a bad edit, EJ. I hope you guys call that out in the comments. Or a punch that I didn't fully clean up. So let's...
Never enough! I lay my head on the pillow filled with rocks! My people dying and you don't give a fuck!
So something I might do, say, with the echo, just for starters, would be to cut a lot of the front stuff. And this is going to be super sloppy because I don't want this video to be 30 minutes long for everybody.
Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head on the pillow filled with rocks!
And then go back to cutting. So you can kind of hear how that fills in some of the space and gives us a cool vibe. So now let's just kind of pop down, and the clean for the in the box stuff, clean is just that 57.
Never! Never! Never enough!
Now, the only thing that we lose doing it this way from the start is a little bit of the off-axis miking that these other guys get, which does impact the tone a little bit, because we just took the one mic. So if you were, recording and you only have like 2 channels to record in with, and you can't have an array of mics set up, it'd be recording one mic and then duplicating it and processing them differently in the box. So the only thing that we lose at the moment would be a little bit of that off-axis, which we could kind of make up for by either slightly time shifting, or you could put like a little bit of a pre-EQ in front and roll off a little bit of some of the proximity effect of some of these and thin it out a little bit. You could do things like that to compensate for it, no doubt. But first we'll go to the in the box distorted, and I just used 2 Neves. The first one to right here just to kind of blow it up, and then the second was just for gain staging. Now this sounds different to me than the red. This sounds more Jack White than it does Beatles, but and I believe Jack White did stuff like this a little bit in some of his recordings. I'd have to go back and check, and if anybody's watching that knows, feel free to let me know. But I believe he likes to overdrive Neves.
Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head on the pillow filled with rocks!
So what's cool is it's pleasing, the distortion. It's like kind of even, and again, it kind of has that nice, like if let's listen to it with the clean.
Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head on the pillow filled with rocks! Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head on the pillow filled with rocks!
So same thing, we're getting some of that dusty air, which is really cool. Let's take that off, and now let's go to the lo-fi. So for the lo-fi, it was boosting a lot of that proximity, rolling some of the top off, and then I just used a stock ProTools version of the Tube Screamer. And to get some of those glitches in there, the free plugin Vinyl, where I just actually put some scratches and a little bit of the warpness. Different flavor than the Carbonphone, but yet it kind of does the same thing a little bit. Let's listen.
Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head on the pillow filled with rocks! Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head on the pillow filled with rocks! Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head on the pillow filled with rocks! Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head on the pillow filled with rocks!
So let's listen to these two.
Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head on the...
So I could probably use a little more distortion in this one.
Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head on the pillow filled with rocks! Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head on the pillow filled with rocks! Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head on the pillow filled with rocks! Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head on...
So if I'm being 100% honest, I don't love the in-the-box version of the lo-fi. I would probably look for something different to kind of accomplish that. It's just not the same, for me, not the same vibe. It's doing something cool, and you could use it, but it's just, it's kind of thinning this vocal out, and where when we listen to these two...
Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head on the pillow filled with rocks!
I hear that as enhancing the performance. Here...
Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head on the pillow filled with rocks! Never!
It's not bad. It's not bad. It's just, you know, I'd probably keep tweaking the EQ, or even seeing if I could find a different distortion box, maybe the Sans amp that, you know, to kind of shoot out against it and see. But if we move on, the one that would be closest to what we had would be like the Galaxy Tape Echo, something like this.
Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head on the pillow filled with rocks! Never! Now people dying and you don't give a fuck! Send them back right! My life lays standing here as proof that you can't erase! Now people dying and you don't give a fuck! Send them back right! My life lays!
So same flavor. You'd have to kind of dial it in to taste the settings that you would want for the particular track. But here,
Now people dying and you don't give a fuck! Send them back!
this is
Now people dying and you don't!
just brighter. So I would, maybe it's just, we just stay stock.
Now people dying and you don't give a fuck! Send them back right! My life lays standing here as proof that you can't erase! Now people...
I like that better. So I would use something like a Galaxy Tape Echo and an EQ together and kind of work. Nope. It's my friend Pontus texting me. He's an awesome mix engineer as well. Should have my phone on mute though. Like I'm over here like a noob. Anyway, okay. So I'm going to mute the in-the-box ones. Just kind of play with the track for a second. I'll keep all these muted. Now, Again, it's not mixed, so there are definitely going to be some issues maybe with leveling, but we can kind of hear.
Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head on the pillow filled with rocks! My people died and you don't give a fuck! Send it back, 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 rock!
So one thing we can do with the distorted vocal, if we wanted to, we could go with like a Deftones kind of thing. So if we went to, say, grabbed an Echo Boy that we can convert to stereo and dual echo, we'll go full, I like to see the times, and we'll bring it down to like right before slap. So we'll say like 80-ish, or that's really kind of into slap tone territory. Let's see what we have.
Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head on the pillow filled with rocks! My people died and you don't give a fuck! Send it back, 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 right! A life place! Standing here as proof that you can't erase my race! Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head on the pillow filled with rocks! My people died and you don't give a fuck! Send it back, 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 right! A life place! Standing here at...
So let's hear that in the mix for a second. I'm not saying this would be the move, but it's a one kind of fun thing you could do with something like this.
Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head on the pillow filled with rocks! My people died and you don't give a fuck! Send it back, 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 right! A life place! Standing here as proof that you can't erase my race!
Also, if you wanted to make it sound preachier, maybe you could do something like a megaphone. No idea how this is going to sound. So all of a sudden there's like this like giant edit cut in the video you're watching, and you know why. Let's see here. Megaphone. You could make your own megaphone by using an EQ and kind of cutting down to almost like a phone-like band, and then maybe putting like a small room reverb on it. Let's see what it sounds like together. It's not as horrible as I thought.
Never! Never enough! I lay my head on the rock! My people died and you don't give a fuck! Send it back, 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 right!
So maybe like something like that. Like, I think it's too messy for the whole thing, but...
My people died and you don't give a fuck! Send it back, 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 right!
I kind of like that line, right?
Back, 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 right!
So... take all this out. And this is part of what I'm saying, where you could go through like I was doing with the edits, and like here we'll get rid of that, and maybe to here. And now all of a sudden we're just using what we have already recorded and creating some moments. So if I really like the distorted vocal, I could have automated this stuff to kick on that, and then just had the rest at a lower level. But since we're not mixing right now, we're just kind of showing what these guys can do together. We're just having some fun. It's a little fun with friends.
Never! Never! Never enough! I lay my head on the pillow filled with rocks! My people died and you don't give a fuck! Send it back, 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 right! A life place! Standing here as proof that you can't erase my race!
And you could hear at the end the echo, which was kind of fun.
Here as proof that you can't erase my race!
So we have moments where you could take these and blend them to taste and kind of molt a vocal sound, or you could take, you know, individual components that you like where you feel like it serves the song or a scene change and kind of chop them up and use them like that. So I missed the distorted vocal through the rest of this. So when it comes time to mix, I'll blend it in. And if I do want to do something like this, I might just put it on a separate track or automate these on and off for certain sections. So I hope you had some fun. Feel free to let me know in the comments below what you think. But again, thinking of using different pieces of equipment that you have as like tone faders, as opposed to, you know, just getting wrapped up in the whole like parallel processing or spatial effects, but rather looking at things like clean, distorted, lo-fi, echo as tone knobs that you can use to kind of make your vocal feel unique and keep interest throughout the song, and not have to overthink it with, you know, sends to your reverbs and delays in regards to that potentially becoming static. Like, here's my reverb send, here's my delay send, and in the song here or there, I might kind of automate them up. You also can now have the same kind of concept for distortion, for lo-fi, and, you know, for just kind of like a very interesting response type echo that's just not, you know, completely dialed in, clean, wide. It's rather kind of gritty and fun, and can help add some other textures to, you know, your vocal processing. So the most important thing is that you don't have to adopt these 4 methods and color palettes that I'm using as your own. But rather, what I hope this video does is I hope it serves to inspire you, to get you thinking about ways that you can do what I'm suggesting better, or differently, or to your own taste. And that your ideas and my ideas and all these ideas floating around continue to serve as inspiration for each other, and we all keep pushing ourselves to find fun and creative new recording techniques. I'd love to wish everybody a happy holiday. Take care, be safe, happy, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. Happy holidays, everybody.